Here are the top 7 things I learned from playing 50 rounds of rated disc golf. Alright, so just a brief overview of where I'm at. I have been playing for about 3 years, not super long, but I pretty much right as soon as I could jumped into playing competitively as soon as possible. Very early on decided, you know what, I'm just going to start playing, start figuring out like what this competitive scene's all about and like see where I stack up. Newsflash, not great. Did not finish strong. It really took some time to like figure out what I'm like and what I can actually do to perform when it comes time to tournament. So even at your most recent tournaments, you can still play poorly, and that's fine. That is just the way it goes sometimes. Your game might not be on its top. You may not be able to handle wind. It's just the way it goes. But something interesting about my top round is that it was rated 945. This was a year after that 676 rated round. So I don't know if I improved that much in a year, but you can see where my growth is and where I'm definitely weaker. All right, so let's get into the tips. Number 1, make sure you have played the course before you actually get there. It may seem trivial, it may seem dumb, but so many times I've gotten to a tournament and not seen any of the courses, not played them. This is a huge detriment when you're playing in competitive rounds and you don't know the distances of everything. Even if you have a rangefinder, it's just not quite the same. You really need to know what the course plays like, what you should be watching out for, what OB lines there are. A lot of times they don't even really mention OB, and you'll just be getting up to a throw and you may go OB without even knowing. This has happened to me. It will happen to you if you don't look, so make sure you're aware of your OB lines. Now, I will say, counter to this, I've actually had some of my best rounds playing blind. It was a little bit of a lucky instance where I just kind of got into a groove. It was an open course. It's kind of where I thrive. And I actually have a 936 rated round that was totally blind, but this is an anomaly. You do not want to plan for this. Make sure you play your courses before you get there. Number 2, make sure to not overthink scores. I think the only time you really want to look at scores is at the very end if you're in contention. If you're not in contention, there's really no point. You may be thinking that you'll be cashing at a certain stroke point, but you don't even know if that's going to happen. People can play lights out on some of the easier holes that you may not even think about, or they may just totally bogey when you're trying to get as many birdies as you can and you go bogey. So kind of just play your own game. Don't worry about other people's strokes. It's really not that important unless you're like really, really trying to get like top 3 and you need to birdie out on like a certain set of holes. But for the most part, don't worry about scores. Number 3, make sure to not let up on the later rounds. This has been probably my strongest skill set. Even when it's cold, it's windy, people are tired, make sure you have figured out what you're going to throw on your second and third rounds. You've played the courses before, you know how they're going to play. It may be a little bit windier on your second and third round, but more than likely, you'll have a pretty good idea of what you need to do. I've seen a lot of people that throw the exact same shot as what they did in hole 1, and it just doesn't work out because they didn't account for wind. So you got to be on your toes, make sure you're aware of your surroundings, and don't get lazy. I think this is something that I've noticed is I have a little bit more conditioning than the average player. And so when it gets to those later rounds where we've been playing a lot longer than normal, and I still have the stamina to keep throwing my normal form, I think this helps a ton in those late rounds when things are just getting tough. Number 4, make sure you know how to warm up. This may seem dumb, but so many times people that I'm around will either not warm up or they'll get to the course an hour or 2 early. I think this is a huge downfall. You do not want to overwork yourself or underwork yourself. If you're overworking yourself, you're going to be very fatigued in the later rounds. But if you don't warm up at all, then you're going to be really tight. You don't really know where your putter's at, and you can make a lot of mistakes that other people won't just because you've overworked it. I think it's always good just to know where your putter game is at and know what you can throw and what you can't. So if you're feeling your circle 2 putts in your practice, then you can probably do it in the tournament. But if you don't even know where your circle 2 game is at, then that's really problematic. Number 5, keep it light. So many times I've been playing with players and I can see they're getting slightly toxic or they're getting really frustrated and not really having a good time. I think it's important to feel the way you feel, but you really got to keep it fun, keep it light. Nobody has a good time if you're being toxic or being mean. And to go along with that, you're probably going to be playing worse if you're really toxic. And I've noticed that when you keep it light and keep it fun, you can be playing with these players for a month later, a year later, when you reunite at the same tournament or a similar tournament, and you can have like a great time and like reconnect. This is something that you won't be doing if you're continually toxic to the players around you on your card. Number 6, join the A tiers even if you're nervous. I have been playing basically every tournament that I can, and it has included a lot of A tiers that I am woefully unprepared for. but you have the ability to try it out, see where you're at, see how you compare to the people around you in your division, and you get a lot of amazing experience that you will not get with a B or C tier. One, you get a lot of new courses, and you get a lot more disc golf. You get to play 3 to 4 rounds or even more, and this allows you to really compare your game to somebody else's. You can get a wide breadth of courses where there's new OB lines, new challenges that you've never played with before. Or if you're in my instance where you've been playing a course for the first time, you get to really see what different states and different courses have to offer that you don't get in your home course. And lastly, be open to new experiences. I know it's cheesy, I know it's dumb, but so many times you might be thinking you're going to play a certain way or be a certain way on the course, but you just have to be open to it. Maybe you saw a different line, you saw a player do something different, and you're like, I actually think that's like a perfect way to throw this hole. Be open to it. Don't maybe change your whole plan, but just think about it. If you have the same course on the next round, maybe try that and just see how it works. A lot of things I've noticed in disc golf are people throw totally different than you. You may think there's only one solution to this hole, but people have thumber lines, crazy forehand flicks. They have so many different ways of tackling a hole than what you do. So be aware of what other people are doing and see if you can do the same. And more broadly, be open to new people. There's going to be a huge range of people that are playing these tournaments, and you can just develop some pretty cool relationships that you wouldn't otherwise. Obviously, it's going to be mostly centered around disc golf. There's going to be a lot of people that are disc golf nerds. They are spending all their money and income on disc golf. But generally, there's people that are just really cool and awesome to hang out with and just generally chill people. So you definitely want to be open to all that disc golf has to offer. So make sure you subscribe. Check out my 1,000 sub video where I spend 24 hours on one course. You do not want to miss that. But as always, Wild Runs, signing out. Peace.